Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Iris Siriani. I'm a relationship coach and I help people bring more love into their lives by loving themselves. And today I want to talk to you about toxic relationships and leaving toxic relationships. And so this message really is for those people who are really have a difficult time. They find themselves in a toxic relationship. There is a lot of tears. There is a lot of unhappiness. There is a lot of anxiety. And there are different levels of toxicity in a relationship. But suffice it to say that if you are finding yourself in a relationship where there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress. Instead of you moving forward in your life, you're actually find yourself moving backwards and almost like you're falling into a pit, an abyss, a blackness. And that's a really crappy place to be. It's no place that anybody should have to live their life. And yet, even though intellectually we know that it's not in our best interest to stay in this type of a relationship, for some people, it is really, really difficult to leave this relationship. Because what happens oftentimes, just the dynamics of this type of relationship, we get hooked into it, because what happens is that one person and I'm going to call this person the abuser, but that's not necessarily to say that they are physically abusive, but there is a level of mental and emotional abuse in all cases by one of the people in the relationship. But what happens is that there's a level of abuse that goes on in the relationship. And it could be physical, but it could also look like emotional abuse where that person is cutting you down. Your partner is cutting you down, making you feel bad, pointing the finger at you that it is you that is not good enough. It's you that isn't taking care of yourself. It's you are the reason that this happened. And because of you, now I don't have this money, or whatever that situation happens to be. But they're very good the abuser is very good at pointing the finger at you, the other person in this relationship, making everything that goes wrong in this relationship your fault, and taking no personal responsibility for how they are contributing to what is crap in the relationship and what is going on. And then you have the other person on the receiving end of all of this crap that's being doled out. And this is getting into your head and into your heart, and you start believing the things that person is telling you. And so there's probably a lot of empathy and compassion that you have for this other person. And so what you do is you try and do better. You try and do better. You try and give more. The more you give, you think that maybe that will help them change. Then maybe it would make them feel more happier, more comfortable, whatever it is that you think that you're giving more of yourself and taking the burden of responsibility for everything that is going on in that other person's life, making that your responsibility. So you're giving more so that you can hopefully make them happier. That only encourages that cycle, that repetitive cycle of abuse. And over the course of many years, because oftentimes these toxic and abusive relationships at this level, they do go on for quite a while. And the longer it goes on, the more difficult it is for the person to leave the relationship. The abuser in this type of relationship is not going to leave the relationship. It is always the person that's bearing the brunt of the crap that is the one that inevitably has to leave. But it is the hardest thing for this person to leave. And so what I want to do today is to help you, by giving you some suggestions or words of encouragement, and perhaps some thoughts to think about that might help you start planning your exit strategy. Because if there's one thing I know for certain, is that if you are in a really crappy relationship where you are being abused or manipulated in any way, just know that you deserve so much more. And whatever the situation is, you are not responsible for that other person's well-being. I know of somebody right now that I'm speaking with who knows that she doesn't belong in this relationship. She knows that she deserves better. She has a career track in front of her that actually is a very good career track, and yet she's being stifled financially and creatively, and personally in other work relationship as well. She's actually being held back as a result of this relationship, and she's making a plan to leave this relationship. And so what I have said to her is what I'm going to share with you. One of the things that I've said to her is that you can't change who that person is. It is not your responsibility to change that person. If that person has been exhibiting behavior since the beginning of the relationship and nothing has changed, and you have been powerless to impact their change, and I'll talk about that, the concept of impacting change in just a moment. But if you have been powerless to impact change on that person, it means that that person is not open to changing or seeing things in a different way, and that they will continue to exhibit all of the behaviors that they've been showing you for the duration of the relationship. So just know that this person is the way they are, and that you staying in this relationship is not going to help them change into the person that you need them and want them to be. So that's number one, is just understand that you cannot change other people. You can change yourself. You control what you think and what you feel and the choices that you make, but you have no impact or control over somebody else, and you cannot make them stay just by staying in this relationship. The other thing that I shared with her is to ask yourself what it is you think you're going to get out of this relationship, or what do you think, let me backtrack. What do you think you are going to get out of this relationship? In all of the years that you've been in this relationship, have you gotten what you need in this relationship? Do you see signs of change that you will get something more out of this relationship? Or are just the patterns, are they just repeating themselves over and over and over again? What is it that you hope to get by staying in this relationship? And for a lot of people in this situation, you realize, you already know intuitively in the heart of your heart that what you want and what you need, you're never going to be able to get by being in a relationship with this person. And that's a realization that you have to come to yourself in that if you want something more, you're going to have to do something different so that you get more. And if everything that you've tried to give in this relationship has not gotten you what you want, then you might want to consider that maybe you can't get what you want out of this relationship. Okay? So that's the question that I want you to ask yourself is, what is it that you hope to get by staying in this toxic relationship? The other thing that I encourage this gal to do is to have boundaries for herself. So in the dynamics of this particular relationship, she is often being told that she's fat, that she's lazy, that her friends are crap, that her family is crap, her mother is crap, just this constant barrage of beratement, and you never take care of your health, and how am I going to be with somebody who doesn't take care of their health? And interestingly enough, when you are constantly berated and put down and belittled, emotionally, your body is going to be in protection mode. So if you are one of those people who does have challenges with their weight, and you are always trying to do something about your weight, just know that this sheer dynamic, emotionally, your body is actually hanging on to the very thing that you're trying to do, which is create better health for yourself, because it's not about losing the weight. It's about creating better health for yourself. But you're in a dynamic that is not going to support that. And you're going to end up using a Band-Aid to mask the emotion instead. And so sometimes that could be drugs, sometimes it's alcohol, sometimes it's food, pick your poison. For some people, it could be over exercise, but just know that if you are trying to create better health for yourself, this whole dynamic is going to actually keep you holding on to the very thing that you are trying to work. And there's just no support in place in order for you to actually to move ahead. Once you leave this toxic environment and you get back to who you were before you started in this relationship, you will watch. It's like you take this big sigh and then you let it go, and it's almost like this thing just washes, and just watch your health improve. As your mental health improves, so does your physical health. So I got way off track on that one. But what I was talking about was boundaries. And what I've been coaching her on is that when somebody starts to berate you and belittle you and hammer you into the ground over something, have good boundaries and just say to that other person, listen, I can see that you're upset, so I don't deserve this treatment, so I am going to leave. Some people have to actually leave their physical homes, or hang up the phone. You could say, you know what? I'm not going to take this shit and abuse. I'm just going to hang up the phone. And when you're feeling more calm, then we can get on the phone and we can talk about this. Having those boundaries in place to let them know that it is not okay to treat you like this. And this goes back to having the confidence in yourself to say, you know what? I don't deserve this. And when you do that right up front in your relationship, you will find that this type of perpetuating behavior isn't common for you. So having those good boundaries is really, really important as you start to create distance. But for some people, they have been so beaten down that they absolutely have nothing more to give. They have nothing more to give. They don't even have the energy to start to have good boundaries, or even to vocalize what it is that they want to say to their partner. Their partner has become so good at beating them down and making them feel so horrible about themselves and their life and who they are as a human being, that they just don't even know how to. They are actually afraid to speak up for themselves and voice any kind of boundary. And to those of you watching that are in that predicament, please, 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 please seek out professional help, because there is support to get you out of that environment. And I talk about toxic relationships. There's a lot of levels of toxic relationship. And for those of you who are in a really, really bad place, who are fearful in your relationships, please seek out the help that you need to help you remove yourself from that environment. For those of you who still have the capacity to make choices for yourself, in as much as you can start voicing your opinion and removing yourself from a situation as often as you can, I encourage you to do that and start thinking about what it is that you want for yourself. If this is your situation, is this as good as you believe it could be? Are you trying to hang on to something that just doesn't change? And the other thing that I want to say is that in the situation that I've been working with this young lady on, she has a lot of compassion for her partner, in that she feels bad because she thinks that if she leaves, his world is going to come crashing down around him. And what I said to her was, that may be the case. His world might come crashing down around him, but clearly he needs to have a meltdown in order for him to see that something in his life is not working well for him. And he needs to take responsibility for his own growth and do the work for himself so that he can go on to have healthy relationships. He is not going to learn and grow inside of this relationship, and she is not going to grow inside this relationship. If there was growth, there wouldn't be all of this bashing and this narcissistic behavior that's going on in this relationship, and even sometimes the violence that comes with it, because there is that underlying thing, that violence from the other person as well, not just in the verbal abuse and the mental and emotional abuse, but sometimes, when you're being backed in the corner, what do? You can only take so much before you start to push back. And oftentimes when the words aren't enough, the physical comes into play as well. So for her, I've been encouraging her to take responsibility for her own actions, for what she needs to do in order to keep herself emotionally well, and to start to create that separation and leave that relationship that she knows she doesn't want to be in, because nothing is changing. And then let him be responsible for his contribution. He's a grown man. He's going to figure it out. And it is not her responsibility. You can have compassion for a person, but it is not your responsibility to save that person. It is your responsibility to save yourself. So I hope that the information in this video does a couple of things for you, that you realize that you are not alone, that even though you feel a disconnect perhaps between the friends that you used to have, your family connections, in these toxic type environments, this is what often happens. There is that separation between friends and family. But as soon as you distance yourself from that relationship, your friends and family will be able to have the opportunity to show up and support you in a way that is going to help you move forward. It's really difficult for friends and family to support you in the way that you need, because there's actually a wall that's been put up between you. But that wall comes down as soon as that relationship starts to dissipate, and you just watch the support that is going to be there for you, because your friends and family want to see you happy. They want to see you thrive in your life and be happy in whatever relationships you choose to have. Then there's boundaries. Putting up a boundary with that person to say, you know what, I'm not going to put up with your belittling and berating me and making me feel like a piece of poo that you know, just anybody can walk all over. Being able to have those boundaries in place and start speaking up for yourself is really, really important as well. And then starting to do things for yourself that make you feel good. I didn't actually talk about that part, but start to do the things that make you feel good about yourself, and start taking some of your power back, because what you've in essence been doing is giving all control and power over to this other person who is actually abusing that power. I hope that you have connected with this video. I hope that you know that you're not alone, and I hope that you know that there are people around you who are ready to support you as you move through this process of leaving that toxic relationship behind. If you are in a really, really bad place, as I mentioned earlier in the video, please go and get the help you need to remove yourself from that very, very toxic environment. And if there is anything that I can help you with, please leave me a message below this video, and we will connect through a different modality. So sending you love, love and light and happiness. And until next time, bye.